Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crime and Entertainment. We have here today a very special guest. Please welcome Dahlia, screen name DahliaIsDopey. And we'll get into that screen name and what she's all about here. But welcome to the show, Dahlia. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Hollywood, for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Now, we'll get into a little bit of your story. You do some camming. You're into cosplay. You're a big horror movie fan. I don't know what it is about girls in the industry, but they all seem to be horror movie fans. Like that's like a staple for some reason. I don't know where that mixes into the fabric of the DNA, but everybody loves horror movies. I've not met one girl in the industry that does not like horror movies.
I have not met enough girls who enjoy
Really?
horror movies. I feel like I have to force them on people.
So sometimes, but they're in the industry, and you have to force them on people.
Yeah. I want these names. I want these receipts. These friends that I've never met.
That's strange, man. Because I don't have that issue. I swear, like it's everybody. I mean, I'm trying to remember some of the ones. I mean, Elizabeth Schuyler, Sin Sage, Darcy Diamond, Kennedy Rose. I mean, everybody's just like big horror movie fans. So. I don't know. And you do the cosplay. Like I checked out your Twitter, and you done a get up of Pennywise. That was pretty dope. I'm gonna actually I'm gonna throw a clip up of that in post so everybody can see it. How long did that take?
The makeup took about 3 hours.
Really?
Yeah, and then the shooting only took about an hour, but yeah,
so, and you're doing that. How difficult is that makeup to apply?
So I actually didn't apply it myself. Right. I have a makeup artist that I work with. Her name is Brianna Ruiz. She's located in Orlando. She's amazing. So she painted the entire thing herself.
Okay. So I mean, like, does it to me? Like, I always have these itches, like the corner of my eye or something like that, and I'm just afraid I would be fucking terrible at trying to have something like that painted on my face. Like, how difficult is it to just sit there for 3 hours to get that shit applied?
My entire face wanted to be scratched. I just wanted to itch everything the entire time. But I kept my hands, and then I would just do this, where you just have a little bit of air touching your face, just enough.
I swear I'd be awful at that, man. Like, I'd have to take like a sleeping pill, and I just have them do it while I was asleep. Might be the best way to go.
I actually do that if I get my eyelashes done.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'll take a sleeping pill and just like feel them turn my head as I'm like falling to the side.
Well, you take Ambien?
No, I took it's called quetiapine.
I've never heard of that. Somebody gave me I've worked shift work a lot of my life because I was in the steel industry. So we would work swing shifts sometimes. So we'd go from nights to days, and it would be difficult to get sleep, especially if you're trying to sleep during the day when the body is supposed to be up, or at least thinks it's supposed to be up. And so I got on Ambien, but then somebody gave me something one time called Seroquel, and holy shit.
So quetiapine is just the generic brand of Seroquel.
Oh God!
So I take 2 of those to sleep.
2?
Yes.
Damn, I'd sleep for a week if I take 2 of those. I mean, like, I took that. I got off a night shift. I got home. I took that at probably like 9 a.m. I slept all during the day. Like, when I would normally get up, I was still groggy. Lucky I didn't drive to work that night because we had like a 2-hour drive to get to work. And like, it was midnight into the working. Like, I was there, I was working, I was not very good. But it was like midnight before I finally got all my senses about me. And I told that guy, I'm like, F that. I don't want that shit. Like, Ambience to me work a whole lot better, for at least for me. Like, they will put me out. They're not going to have that groggy effect, or at least they don't to me. They'll put me out. I'll stay out. But then when I get up, I'm alert to do whatever I got to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've never taken Ambien. They put me on this directly. This was the first sleeping pill they gave me. And actually my best friend asked me for half of one. We had just flown to Spain and it was daytime there. So she like couldn't sleep, but wanted to sleep. And I gave her half of one and she slept for like 12 hours.
Wow.
But for some reason, I take 2 and I get 10 hours of sleep.
Yeah, those are rough, man. I commend you for being able to take those and function. So let's start a little bit from the beginning. Like, tell us a little bit about where you grew up, early life, and then kind of how you got into this industry.
So I grew up in South Florida, Fort Lauderdale to be specific. So that's about 45 minutes north of Miami, if people don't know. Mm-hmm. We have our own Hollywood. So
I've been there. I've been to the Guitar Hotel.
Oh, you've been to our Hard Rock.
Yes. There was a friend of mine that had a movie premiere last year, and he rented out the Day or Night Club, which is in there. And it was a really cool, like, I'd never been to that hotel before. The guitar was like really cool. Casinos was cool. They rented out that whole entire club for the night, which was very cool. So it was a neat experience. And they're fixing to have another one released here soon. So they're going to do another one the same way. They're going to rent out the same part of the club, and have another one there. So I'm looking forward to going back.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really cool. A lot of people from the movie showed up. It was like fully catered. The food and everything was free. They actually showed the movie inside on, like, they got TVs all over, but they showed it on like one gigantic big screen, and they were all on TVs like on the sides. So everybody watched the movie while they ate. And then people were like singing and dancing, and the only thing you really paid for was your drink. So it was a really good time.
I am jealous. That sounds super fun. I've actually never been into any of the clubs in the Guitar. I've been gambling there, but I haven't. I'm not the best gambler.
I think that's how they stay in business. You're not supposed to win.
I know, and I'm a roulette player too. So it's, if you miss a few spins, you're just like out of money.
Yeah, I'm more of a blackjack guy, but yeah, I'm familiar with Hollywood, Florida.
But so that's where I grew up. I moved to Orlando about 6 years ago now. It's wonderful up here. It's very pretty. It's a lot prettier than South Florida is. Mm-hmm. But, I'll always have a soft spot for South Florida. My family's all still there, so I still visit regularly.
Oh yeah, home is home. They had a crime con there last September in Orlando. And I went up there for that, and that was pretty neat. It's been a while since I've been to like any of the theme parks, but this was in Orlando, and it was a lot of people. Are you into like crime documentaries and stuff like that too?
Yeah, I love them.
Okay, so that would have been like any of the big crime podcasts, like trying to think, like True Crime Garage was there, Generation Y was there. Tara Newell and Collier Landry were there. I mean, it was a bunch of people. They have like podcast rows. So it's everybody with podcasts from all over. Some people were there from the UK, and then different people speak. So like they had, I want to say it was somebody involved with the Dennis Rader. I don't know if it was his daughter, who was the BTK killer. She was speaking. Dr. Bodden, that famous guy that does all the autopsies on everybody. Yeah. He was there. Nancy Grace was there. I met Nancy Grace. It was really cool.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, they're having another one this weekend in Nashville. They change the location every year. Like 2 years ago, it was in Vegas. I didn't go to that one. I went to the one last year in Orlando, and then the one they're having now is actually this weekend. It's in Nashville. They're going to have a second one towards the end of the year, but I don't think they've named the location for that one yet.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah. So I moved to Orlando.
Yes. Sorry.
No,
I was going to say I've only been to conventions that are horror movie related or anime.
They have those there too. I think I'm looking at one called Spooky Empire. And
Spooky Empire. It's great. It's a lot of fun.
They're doing one where I live at here in Charleston.
Oh, you should definitely check it out. They have a lot of I know last year they had Matthew Lillard on their docket, and that's
the first one they've named, the first like huge guest they named this week. You'll never get. I know you're a fan of this movie because I heard in some podcasts you talk about it. Heather Langenkamp.
Oh my God! Seriously?
Yes, I'm stoked. She's going to be there the whole weekend. I was already looking. I was like, all right, I got to find like the biggest Nightmare on Elm Street poster. I'm gonna go ahead and have a frame ready. That way, as soon as she signs it, it's going in a frame. Gonna go on the wall. I'm super excited. And they've only got 2 guests on the whole list, but she's one of them, and that's enough for me. I mean, that's my price of admission right there.
Oh yeah, I definitely would go just based off of that.
Because I think the one in Orlando is in October, and this one
every October.
And the one they're doing in Charleston is in August. So not too far from that one. So hopefully some of the people from that one will trickle over, because they got a lot of good people going to that one in October.
Yeah, they last year they had Matthew Lillard, like I said. I think Freddie Prinze Jr. was there as well, which is always fun. Especially because he's also a wrestling fan. So I appreciate that he used to write for which company
WWE? Was it WWE that he wrote for?
I believe so. Okay. But if I'm wrong, don't yell at me, listeners.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. I was a huge wrestling fan too, back in the day. I'm actually going to St. Augustine next weekend. They're having a wrestling convention down there that I'm going to. Some of the older guys, and I'm interviewing a few people down there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Were you a wrestling fan too?
When I was growing up, I was.
Yeah. That's me. I fell out of it when I got a little older, but like as a youth, I mean, I was really into that.
Yeah. Did you see the Iron Claw?
Yes. I was not like, I enjoyed it for what it was, but like I was expecting a bit better of a movie. To me, it was like a slow burn, and not in a good way, you know?
Yeah, I can see that. I ended up reading up about the family a bunch, and there was like a few things that I feel like they left out: the death of one of the brothers that killed himself. They left out the death of the first son who was electrocuted, and then I feel like they kind of pushed together all the other brothers' deaths when it was like years and years apart.
Yeah. And I remember, like, I was young, but I remember when Kerry was the Texas Tornado, when he went into WWE and was he had shunned that, what the hell's the name? Their names. Why am I blanking on their names? What's their last name? Well. Von Erich. He had shunned the Kerry Von Erich name, and he was going by Texas Tornado. But like, I'll give that dude credit, at least as a youngster. I could not tell that he was working with half a foot.
I mean, no, not at all. He hit it from everybody so well.
Yeah.
And he was so good at what he did.
Yeah, he was really good. And I mean, I hated it in the way it did for him. And there's only one brother left. And I actually interviewed a guy named Steve Goldstein or Goldstein. I can't remember which. But if this was before the Iron Claw, I don't think the script was what became Iron Claw. It was before that, because this was like 2 years ago. And he had gotten financing to write a spec script with the surviving brother. And he wrote it, and he pitched it to this woman. I forgot her name, but she was supposed to get some financiers to back it from like oil companies out of Oklahoma and Texas. Everything was going good, as it should. He said he felt the whole conversation was always just like a little shady, but everything come through. So it was like, maybe it's just a woman with connections. And then one day she didn't answer the phone. He couldn't ever get her on the phone. Come to find out, she was found shot dead in the trunk of her car at a motel. I think it was in Oklahoma City. And I was just like,
that's a movie he should write.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, you might want to write about that, about what you were trying to write. But I mean, and then Iron Claw wound up coming out, and I tried to reach back out to him to see if he had any part in that. I don't know if he did. I don't want to say he didn't and he did, but you know, to my knowledge, it wasn't the script he wrote. But I just was like, man, what a snake bit scenario in general. I mean, you got everything that tragic that happened to the brothers. He's trying to write the script, and that lady winds up being found in the trunk of her car. I mean, it was some creepy stuff. But yeah, that whole dynamic was just real crazy. But I felt like the movie, with everybody that they had in it, including Zac Efron, who did amazing. I felt like it just could have been a little bit better. It was just a slow burn for me.
Yeah, it was like a 6 where it could have been an 8.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, perfect analogy. 100%. Because like, to me, one of the best wrestling movies ever is The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. Like I love it.
Oh,
You seen
okay.
that?
I have seen that.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's not even really based on anything truthful. I mean, it was supposedly loosely based on, I forgot who that was really kind of supposed to be loosely based on, but it was like, that was one of the best movies I think I've ever seen.
I
It's
want the
part
Ric
of the
Flair
wrestling.
movie.
I'm waiting on that.
That
I
would
don't
be
know.
a great movie. I would be first in line for that movie.
I watch all of his documentaries, man. He seems like he's had about 20, but like he's just one of those people that I don't care what he does, how many times he'll tell a story. I can listen to him tell the story over and over again just because of who he is and he's entertaining.
Yeah. I also am a big fan of Charlotte Flair. So.
Oh yeah, Charlotte, man, she is like, I don't know if there's a better woman wrestler, like period.
I actually feel exactly the same way. I feel like every time I see her lose the belt, I'm like, no, this is incorrect. Like she is perfect. Like she sells the show. She can work the show. Like she looks like a wrestler. She comes in with like the craftsmanship that her father did.
Yes.
Like,
and you can tell that's instilled in her. And I think now you're finally starting to get a few people that can kind of, I would say, that can hold a match. Like you have Becky Lynch is good. What's the Rhea Ripley? I'm a big Rhea Ripley fan. She just had to give up the belt, I think, unfortunately. I don't follow it as much as I used to, but like I watch some of the main pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Rhea can put on a good show.
Sasha Banks puts on a good show.
Yeah. But for a long period of time, man, like Charlotte was the women's division. Like there was nothing. They headlined WrestleMania, what, about 3 years ago? It was her, Ronda Rousey, and Becky Lynch. Like that was a women's headline WrestleMania, unprecedented, and they did a phenomenal job. Charlotte is just, I mean, it doesn't get any better. She's cream of the crop when it comes to the women.
A+ wrestler.
So you moved to Orlando. What kind of transpired to get you involved in this here?
I was tired of South Florida at that point. And I just wanted to try something that was still close enough for me to drive to my family.
Right.
So I have a couple nieces, so I wanted to be able to see them. But Orlando at least has like a great food scene. It has more activities to do. I just, in general, it's a more interesting area to live in if you're going to live in Florida.
And then what kind of led you to what did you start doing first? Did you start doing camming, modeling? What did you start doing first?
So I've been camming now for 16 years.
16 years. Wow.
Yeah, it just turned 16. Well, actually, by the time
you just turned 16, I was like, whoa, we gotta restart this.
No, I've been camming for 16 years.
Somebody knocking on my door. All right, 16 years going. All right. Glad we clarified that there for any of the listeners. I'll sidebar that with a little anecdote here. I got an uncle who's getting up there in age, and he's having some health issues. And he gave me like a gigantic box of Playboys that he's had for years. And he was like, one of them in there has Tracy Lords in it because, she lied about her age and she was in Playboy, she was in porn, but it was all before she was actually of legal age. And he was like, I'm sure you could probably get something for that. And I'm like, yeah, you can get something for that. All right. Time in fucking jail. It's like peddling, basically underage porn. And he's like, oh, well, don't do that then. And I'm like, yeah, it's, I'm sure to somebody on a certain kind of market, it might be worth something. But as far as you can't just slap that bad boy on eBay, you're going to get somebody, coming to your door. But I remember when that whole fiasco happened. But yeah, he gave me a box of like Playboys from like the late 70s, 80s, 90s.
So, fun fact, Stephen King was first published for Children of the Corn in Playboy.
Really?
Before he was published in before Children of the Corn was published anywhere, it was published in Playboy. And I actually own that Playboy.
Really? That'd be a good one to have. Yeah. I've got Courtney Gaines lined up to come on the show. He was I forgot what was it? It wasn't Malachi. Malachi was the main guy, right? Isaac. Okay, well, he was Malachi then. The redheaded kid. That was Malachi. That was Courtney. Yeah. He was.
Oh my God, he's coming on the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. Tell him he was my favorite.
He was also in Can't Buy Me Love, the comedy with Patrick Dempsey, and I don't remember that other girl. She was really, really pretty, but like she wound up having a drug problem, and I think she committed suicide. But it was like where he paid her to date him. He paid her like
Yeah.
$1,000.
I actually remember this movie. She spills wine on a white suede outfit that her mother told her she couldn't wear.
Yep.
So then she dates the nerd.
Yep.
And then falls for the nerd, and the nerd gets too cool.
Yep. He was about to buy a telescope, and he seen her in the shop, went over there and cut a deal, and it worked. And yeah, it was a great, that's one of them good 80s movies, man. If I ever see that on, I'll watch it. Patrick Dempsey was killing it in those types of movies back then. He had that one. He had Lover Boy, where he was a pizza delivery guy that was basically, I want to say sleeping with the women. He wasn't necessarily sleeping with them. That was what they were hiring him for, but he would always just do something different when he got there, like teach them how to dance or, do all kind of crazy stuff. But he was killing it in the 80s. But yeah, Lover Boy was good, and Can't Buy Me Love was good. And that girl, I forgot her name. It escapes me, but she got hooked on drugs, and I think she wound up killing herself.
Oh, that's so sad.
She says, matter of fact, I don't know if it was on the set of that movie or it was on some movie. She came out later in life to say that she was raped on set while she was doing the movie, and that really led to her depression and drug use later on in life.
Well, that explains it. That explains a lot of it.
So God, we can just talk forever on movies like that. I get sidetracked. So I'm trying to get to where we're going. Where do we get? Oh yeah, we're talking about Playboys. So yeah, Courtney Gaines is going to come on. I'll definitely have to shoot you that episode when it finishes. But when he shot me all those, I just started thinking, I'm like, this industry has just come through so much. Because back then, I mean, everybody depended on those magazines. Then it was VHS. Then DVD had its time. Then it kind of went to more online, and everything was free. The market was like saturated with free porn. Now it's kind of moved to where it's more subscription based, and it's harder to find certain areas. Now you have to register because they're outlawing certain things, and it's crazy how all the different levels that it's come to. Where did you find your foothold when you first got into it?
So when I first started, I started camming. Okay. I started on a site called Stream8 that was pay per minute when I first started. So it was, $8 a minute or $12 a minute to do cam. Then I moved over to My Free Cams, which is more creative based. And then I did ManyVids for a while, which is content.
Yeah.
So, but I would say I'm more a streamer than anything else.
So when you say streamer, like, what do you mean by that?
So, I'll get online, and for me, I personally will, I form emotional relationships with people who don't have significant others or feel neglected in life. So, I'll get online. Usually I'll have a few drinks and maybe watch a movie with them, or we can play video games. I do a lot of video games online. Usually the horror-based video games.
Right. That's the only video game to play. That, and I'm a football guy, so I do play Madden. But other than that, I'm like, if it ain't horror video games, I don't really have a use for it.
Did you play Until Dawn?
No, I've not played that one yet.
It's so good.
The last couple of years have been tough for me to find free time because I've gotten so deep into the podcasting. But I grew up on, PlayStation, Resident Evil. There was a game called D. It was one of the first horror movies that I ever played on the PlayStation. It scared the shit out of me. All the Resident Evils were great. What was it? Silent Hills were good. There was a few more that was in there. It was one for the Xbox, and they had two of them, but it was a really good. It escapes me, but I love all horror movies.
Maybe.
Which one?
Alan Wake?
No, it wasn't Alan Wake. It was I want to say there were parts where you're in a barn. See, it's driving me crazy now. I got to think of it like horror game. It was on the 360, so I'm going back. I don't know how long you've been playing for the 360. I don't know if you had did you have the 360?
My brother had the 360, so borrowed it quite a bit.
Left Evil Within. That was it. Evil Within.
Evil Within. Okay. Yes. I don't think I ever played that.
I don't know if you can. Kind of hard to see.
I will have to check it out because I do still play a lot of like older games.
That light's just not going to let you see it, but yeah, Evil Within is really good, and it had a sequel to it too. It was really good. I don't know. I've always liked being scared, even with the movies or video games or whatever, and that's cool. So these people will pay for you to come on and either do that with them, hang out, watch TV, or whatever the case. You said you had a few drinks. What's your drink?
So if I'm out and about and people are actually going to witness me in real life, I'll get a dirty martini any time of the day. Love a good super dirty martini. I want it like Christina Aguilera in the 90s dirty.
That was dirty. That a lot of people wore out VCRs to
that. But if I'm taking shots by myself, I drink Fireball.
Fireball. Have you had the ones that are like Fireball, but it's like cookie dough and birthday cake?
No. What?
Yes. Somebody told me about that at work, and I was telling them that I would drink Fireball, and I was telling like if you mix Fireball and rum chata together, you get the milk from Cinnamon Toast Crunch, or at least a similar tasting substance. And they were like, have you had the cookie dough ball or whatever it was? And I was like, no. And it was like, it's the same brand as Fireball, but they have one that's called cookie dough ball and the other one that's birthday cake, and it's made by the same people, and it's like really good. They're really good.
I had absolutely no idea that this existed, and it sounds amazing.
Oh yeah. It's really good. Some of the stores don't have it. It took me a couple of times. Cookie dough liquor.
Well, it's nice to meet a fellow Fireball drinker.
Yes.
Because usually people will look at me and be like, really? And I'm like, sometimes I'll drink. I enjoy every once in a while. I'll drink Bird Dog. I don't know if you've had that whiskey.
Oh yeah. I've heard that. It's called Dough Ball is what it is, but it's cookie dough. It's called Dough Ball, but it's really good. You got to write that down. Yes. If you search it, it'll come up. Yeah, I've been Fireball, man, since it come out years ago. It was really good. And matter of fact, this past Memorial Day, I have this marinade that I do. It's really good. It's peach Crown Royal, peach preserves, honey, soy sauce, salt and pepper, and onion powder, and mix it up. Obviously there's certain degrees of it, but mix it all up, and it was meant for like chicken wings. So you let them sit in that for like a day and then cook it. And man, they were awesome. And so I had a lot of like the marinade left over, so I didn't want to throw it away. So I marinated a salmon in it. I cut the salmon in half and put it in the bag with the leftover stuff and left it in there for like a day. It was the best salmon I'd ever had in my life. And I don't even really drink peach Crown like that.
I would take that recipe.
Oh yeah. I'll send it to you. It's good. It's like the measurements are on there, so I'll send it to you, but it's really good. I'm telling you, try to be the best thing you ever had. It was like, I want to do that all the time. It's just if you had the crown in there, I want to try it one day without the crown. It's a little bit less expensive doing it that way. But it's really good. And I'm not even a peach guy. Like peach isn't one of my favorite things, but it's when I cook the wings, I'll put them in the air fryer and they come out and they look burnt almost because it's the stuff that's on it. But it's not burnt, and it's just, it's so good. You'll love it. But that's a cool concept though. How much do these people, just out of curiosity, like, do they pay still by the hour or by, how do they pay?
So the sites that I work on now, typically they'll pay like as they're going, as they feel like they want to buy me a shot. So it'll be like 777 tokens to buy me a shot. So they'll buy me a shot. And then if they want to buy me another shot, or they want to see me jiggle my boobs at them, or like, spank my butt.
Yeah. Now, do you have like weird I'm assuming you probably, especially if you're in the cosplay stuff, you had like weird requests to dress certain ways.
There is a guy who he's on My Free Cams, and almost every girl who works on that site would remember him. But he's got an obsession with dial soap. And it has to be dial soap, and he wants you to like wash your entire body with like dial soap. And there was another guy who was super into like the cheese slices, like the traditional like American cheese, like
Yeah. Just put them all over you.
Yeah, just like throw them all over your body. I've never done either of these shows because like I lean more towards like emotional support and things of that nature, but they've requested it.
I think they need more an emotional support if they want to see somebody cover themselves with cheese. But the one thing I'll say is like everybody has their own kink that does it for them. Not everybody has the same thing.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I think as you get older, you have to realize like some things are just for certain people. Like, and you know, that doesn't make them wrong or whatever. I mean, it wouldn't be my thing in particular. Like I would never want somebody to cover their stuff in cheese, but at the same token, I've been, you know, in situations where you use other stuff like, you know, chocolate syrup or whipped cream or stuff like that. So to me, that makes sense. They might just be a cheese person, as weird as it sounds.
I love cheese so much, but I can't imagine eating it off my partner.
Yeah, that's my thing is like, I'm a big cheese guy too. I mean, I like it all, American, you know, mozzarella, all that, but it's like, that just doesn't fit in that type of situation.
But also, it's the fact that it had to be like specifically like the yellow cheese slices.
And now you
like
just
if you came in with some Swiss cheese, no,
you got what do you got to do with it? What do you got to do? Just lay there with it. What is it? What is it? Is there an end game to that?
I don't know. I assume that he's gonna eat, like that's the only cheese he likes.
I mean, but is that what they just cover it up and just lay there? I mean, what do they just sit and talk to him with it on there? I'm curious now.
I believe they just sit and talk to him.
Wow, that's crazy. I knew this girl, and I've told the story a time or two on the podcast, but she actually done escorting, and she told me the story about a guy. She had like a little circuit that she would travel states to states to states, and it would, you know, she'd be around this certain state once every, you know, a couple of months. And there was this guy, and she said he would pay her, I think it's $800, $1,000, something like that. He would run a hotel. He would go in there, and the only thing that he wanted was for her to come into the room, and he would, of course, he would be, you know, naked or whatever, sitting in the chair, but there was a glass table, and on that glass table was like a grasshopper and a jar. He would want her to take that grasshopper and squash it in between her boobs and rub it back and forth while he done what he done himself. They never touched.
Yeah, there's a crushing fetish that's apparently
what is
going around. It's like a crushing fetish.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay.
Yeah, it's like people will pay for you to stomp on like little things. Or there's also like giantess fetishes as well, where like they want you to pretend that you're like 12 feet tall and you're gonna crush them. This is what's going on the internet, guys.
There's real, I mean, just, I guess, does normal fantasy, is this going past normal? Do you need something like that to satisfy, or is that something that's always been there? That's what I guess my biggest curiosity for this, because like I'm obviously a very heterosexual man. I'm married. Me and my wife are very sexual. So my ideas of a good time is in those confines, never going to, I want to pretend she's a giant or anything like that. Where do you think that comes from? Do you just go past what is, I guess I would say normal, maybe not so much anymore, but like the regular, do you go past that to get to there?
I feel like people just discover it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think that you start there,
Right.
but I think, look at the old films like, Attack of the 60-foot tall woman,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I feel like that specific one has to do with like Mystery Science Theater. Like Mystery Science Theater put Attack of the 60-foot woman, or whatever the name of that actual film is, out there, and suddenly all these guys were like, I want to be inside her vagina.
It's definitely interesting, man. I find talking to people in this industry so like interesting, because everybody just has their own niche, and it's like another feet is another one, like, and that's been around for a long time. People have feet fetishes, and I, for one, I don't care how hot a girl is. Like, I don't, the feet is just not something I have no interest in at all. Like, this, it's just not a thing. I'll never look.
No one likes my feet. People talk about feet fetishes all the time, and then they talk about how I wear a woman's size 6, so like I can literally wear children's shoes. Like, I buy my Jordans in youths because they're cheaper.
Oh, you save money.
But like, it's just nobody for some reason likes my feet. No one in the entire world likes my feet.
I don't know. The cheese guy's got to like your feet. I don't know.
Probably.
Now, what you're doing, where you said you had to do content, like what types of content do you have?
So that's where you'll find my more traditional stuff, my more porn stuff related, nakedness and all of that. I don't really do anything too extreme. I'm more of a traditional porn star, you could say.
Right. Now, is this with just other guys, girls, by yourself? I mean, how does this?
I have a lot of girl content. I have a few boy-girl videos from back in the day, but I usually do content with other females or other people.
Right.
I shouldn't say females, other people.
Females, right. Do you prefer working with females?
Yeah. I just prefer to not work with men.
Okay, so is that just for strictly business reasons, or you don't have any interest in men at all?
No, that's just strictly business.
Okay, so you would rather keep the men for personal side of things outside of that life.
Yeah, and also I have only ever worked with men that I've been in a relationship with, and it can cause a lot of issues in a relationship.
Oh yeah.
Like just being like, get hard right now.
People think that like that would be the coolest thing ever until they're actually involved in it, and then they realize it's a little bit of work to do things like what you're talking about, as far as like filming stuff. It takes the spunkiness and the spontaneity out of it, I guess would be what I'm looking for. It takes a little something out of it, so it's not quite the same thing.
Yeah, people just think it's going to be like every time they get a hard on, they're like, I'm going to be ready to make a video. But like in reality, I have to set up lights. I have to
set up cameras. Just over here waiting. Yeah, see that you would have to already have stuff set up. That's what it is. You just have a room ready to go. When you just run into the room and have a room designed.
Like, all right, it's time. But that's so stressful for me. So with women or, just other human beings, it's easier.
Oh yeah. You don't have all the equipment that have to get ready, I guess, to like a guy. So that way I can see where that would be.
Yeah, lube does most of the work if I'm not ready already.
Yeah. Where you're at right now, how are you with that? Where do you see yourself going next?
I would like to go more into sorry, I just completely zoned out on my own words. I would like to go more into cosplay.
Okay.
I do a few a year, but I would like to do a lot more. I also would like to do more podcasting.
Okay.
So thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the thing about podcasts too. I mean, it's almost like it's a version of porn in a way, like not necessarily, to that specific, but there's something out there for everybody. No matter what you're into, there is somebody out there that has a podcast that has that subject matter talked about. Like you can, whether it's finance, whether it's, Christianity, whether it is horror movies, whatever the case is, there's a podcast out there for you that can cover it. And it's something that you can do yourself that's relatively inexpensive. Well, I mean, if you want to get deeper into it, then obviously you can sink some money in the production. But I mean, you can start a podcast on your own with a cell phone if you need to.
I actually do have one.
Really? Okay.
We're taking a sabbatical for a moment. And then we're coming back. I think actually next week we're recording our first episode again.
Okay. So you said so you got a co-host?
I actually have two co-hosts. I have one co-host named Tater, who is a very, very sexual human being who is not in my industry. And then I have my friend Aaron, who is a normal cis male who's been married for the last 10 years of his life. So we just discuss different sexual conversations where you think, oh, she's the porn star, she's going to be totally up for anal fisting. Let's have a conversation about that. And then I'm like, hey, by the way, that's not my cup of tea. But Aaron will come in out of nowhere and be like, I've been married for 10 years. We're doing everything.
That's the biggest misconception, because people they say, well, where does that fit into crime and entertainment? Well, I'm like, well, that's the entertainment part, first of all. But I think that's the biggest misconception from a lot of the people that I talk to, is just because you're in that industry, a lot of males automatically think you just want to do that 24/7. That's just what you do. Even when you're not working, it's oh, well, I know she wanted to do it. She does it for a living. That's not the same. Would you want to do what you do for a living if you're off the clock? It's kind of that same thing.
How many chefs go home and make a 4-star meal?
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want to, you're actually less likely to probably get it. That's why I've told my wife before, we've had this discussion, because she's always I know what guys do at strip clubs. And I'm like, you want to know, to be honest, a strip club is probably one of the safest places a woman can send their man, because the likelihood of a guy going to a strip club and hooking up with a stripper that he's not having to pay God knows how much money to for whatever he's getting is very, very, very slim. Those girls are there to do a job, to get money, to play the game, and they're going to come back in there the next day. They're not looking to do that. And
absolutely,
is there one-offs here and there where two people might just connect and whatever? I'm sure it's happened. I'm not going to say it's never happened, but the likelihood of that happening in that joint is very, very slim. You would be more apt to have that happen going into a restaurant bar type setting of two people that just randomly hook up than you would send.
I absolutely agree with this. I say this all the time. I've never had an issue with a significant other going to a strip club. Not worried about it. They need to make their fucking rent. Go help this human being. Go give this human being their rent money.
Yeah. Did you watch the Ashley Madison documentary? It was just on Netflix.
I have not seen it yet. It's on my queue.
It's really good. Check it out. And it's an interesting dynamic, because I remember when that website was popular, and of course it was getting a lot of flack because it's promoting infidelity. Because I think the tagline was "Life is short, have an affair." And so basically what it's saying is that if things aren't working out with your marriage, obviously look for someone. They let women join it for free, and then men would pay $20 a month for a subscription. That was kind of the little marketing plan they used. So obviously the women would go to it because they didn't have to pay anything. The guys would be the one footing the subscription. And it was around for a couple of years, started growing some steam. And then all of a sudden it got hijacked by some hackers, and the hackers demanded that they shut it down. They didn't want money. It wasn't a ransom. They demanded that they shut the site down and cease operations, or they were going to release all the information and make it public. So anybody that had a username, credit cards, addresses, anything that they thought was hidden was now going to be public. And so they like hired these hackers from Switzerland to try to regain control of the company. It didn't work. There was thoughts that possibly it was the CEO that done it for advertisement, because as crazy as it sounds, while this was going on and they knew about it, traffic was like steady flowing into the site because people were finding out what it was. So they were still signing up for it.
Yeah.
Even though it was in there that all the shit was about to get leaked. And it eventually did get leaked. One of the gentlemen actually wound up committing suicide. He was a preacher at like a Christian academy. It got leaked. It got found out. They called him in the office. Was like, look, your name showed up on this. We've got to let you go. He knew his wife was going to be devastated. His whole family was teaching and heavy into Christianity. And he went to the garage and like cranked up the car and just stayed in the garage and let the carbon monoxide take him out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was, I mean, it was sad. A lot of the fallout from it. There was a couple, like the guy was on it and he was on it for a period of time. Then he had stopped and kind of worked things out with his wife. And this was like I guess the craziest one. They sung the Frozen song, him, his wife, and the two kids in a band, and it went viral. So they actually became like somewhat of a celebrity couple. They started a YouTube channel. It got like, I think 1 million followers or something like that. Right now they're at 2 million. They're still together, but like his name got brought out that he was in it. They done like this whole video of him saying that he owned up to it somewhat. He said he didn't meet anybody. It turns to find out he did meet some people. I didn't know about it then when it happened. I was kind of curious.
Once you're caught, just admit the whole thing.
Yeah. Just go ahead and come out with it. And that's what he said. He was like, as soon as I done that video, as soon as I hit upload, I was like, man, I probably shouldn't have done it. And see, now it looks worse because now, like, if you'd have just come out and said it, it would have been one forgiving thing. Now you got that. They're going to have to get over the fact that you were on it. Then you got to come out again and say what really happened. So now it's twice. So it looks way worse.
Yeah. And you look like you're a liar.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, as it is, you're a liar, but twice burned.
Well, you can at least say, obviously he had something going on at some point in time. You can call him, whatever, promiscuous, whatever you want, label you want to put on him. But like you said, then when you just lie to somebody about it, well, I did that, but I didn't do this. Now you're that plus you're a liar. So it just makes it worse. But apparently they were able to rebound off of it. They're still together. They still got a YouTube channel. They got like 2 million subscribers. I looked them up just out of curiosity to see if they were still together, and they still got a channel. But it's a really good documentary. You should check it out and give it a look. It's really interesting because they break down the guy when he would go on these TV shows. And I talked about this with one of the last people that I had on. He breaks it down like this. So say you have a married man, right? And he's got kids and loves his wife, but the wife just doesn't have any interest in sex. It's not there. She just does not have it in her, whether it was the kids that changed it or whatever. The specifics aren't important, but the sex just isn't there. So he would use Ashley Madison to find somebody to fulfill that need, that part of his life that he's not getting at home. But then he goes back to his home and the home life stays intact.
Yeah.
Now, when you actually look at it like that, I know it's wrong, but it's not horrible.
Well, that's what my entire industry, or not my entire industry, but a large portion of my industry is based off of, especially me, because I am the woman that they're going to when they're unhappy in their marriage.
So are a lot of these guys, when they want you to do all the stuff like hang out or do video games, they're married?
A lot of them are. Yeah, a lot of them are, or a lot of them are older and just, don't have company.
Okay. So are they single or are they married and it's not working like they wanted to?
Both. I'd say both. I'd say a lot more are married and it's just not working. Now,
do the wives know about it?
I have a few guys whose like wives know about it.
Because I think at some point, if I've heard stories and situations where the women are just okay with it. They're like, it is what it is. As long as, you come back home to me, I'm fine with it. I mean, it's a strange dynamic because sex is just a really key part in a relationship. To keep it fresh, it's huge. It's just as important as any other factor you want to throw in there. Like it has to stay fresh. It has to stay, exciting, spicy. And when that goes, It's usually like the first domino and everything goes out. Because I'd say 90% of the time when you ask people why they cheat, it's usually got something to do with they're not getting that sexual gratification. It could be some other stuff, but 90% of the time, that's kind of the catalyst for it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
So when you have these gentlemen that come on here and say that they're looking for that, like, does that give you some sort of satisfaction that you're making them kind of whole or happy, so to speak?
Yeah, I would much prefer that over the guys that come in and they're just being raunchy and super sexual. I'd much rather know that I'm helping somebody and that they're feeling better and, living their life a little bit happier because I'm helping them in that way.
I think you have that too from guys that are like, just say you take a guy that's in like a business world and he has to be such prim, proper, clean, proper etiquette, this, that, or the other. I think when they have an outlet to where they can be the exact opposite of maybe what they want to be or how they want to talk, that's also an outlet too, because then they can do that and not necessarily be judged, but then they can turn right around the next day and go back to work and be the shrewd business.
Yeah. And they don't have to tell me about work, and they don't have to worry that I'm going to get upset over something that they're doing at home.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the carefree girlfriend, essentially.
Yeah.
Just show up and be like, hey, let's have some drinks.
So you mentioned possibly wanting to do something with podcasting. Is there anything else that you want to aspire to get into going forward?
Not that I can think of. I really love where I am in my life at this exact moment. Like, my camming career is going really well. Like I said, I do a few cosplays, but I'm trying to get into more cosplays. And then I have my show that I want to get back into. So those are my main focuses right now.
I really think there's something there. The cosplays, they're just dressing up costumes, right? That's what that is.
Yeah.
I really think there's something there if you had a specific show designed for like a naughty cosplay type thing to where it was. And I've seen you've had pictures of like Freddy Krueger or something along those lines where the girls dressed up as like characters from the horror movies and stuff like that. I think you're going to mix the two of horror movie fans and adult film fans together.
I actually did a Heather Langen camp from Freddy Krueger.
Yes.
From Nightmare on Elm Street. So my friend did Freddy for that, and I did Heather. But I've also done Freddy too.
See, I think there's something there with that, right, man? I mean, you can mix in like the outfits where it, is revealing. You got you got the Michael Myers, you got the Jason, Leatherface, Chucky. You can do Chucky. I mean, they have a lot of those outfits at Halloween at times.
I actually did Chucky this year.
Right. See, you're all okay. So you're picking up what I'm putting down. There's a market there. I'm not sure how you can put a show together for it, but I got a feeling that's like a thing that a lot of people would like to attend. That would feel like two things for people. You got your horror fix and your naked lady fix.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping to continue in. The last cosplay I did was actually I just played a final girl from Camp Crystal Lake.
Oh yeah, yep.
So I did before pictures where it just looks like cute camp pictures, and then I did like me covered in dirt.
Right. Okay. Cool. And those are on your Twitter?
On my Instagram.
Instagram. Okay. All right. So you'll have to let us know what the Instagram and the Twitter is. We can put it in the links in the show notes. Couple quick questions before we wrap it up. Just out of curiosity, I always have to ask, what is your favorite horror movie? And I want to split this into two. Give me your favorite old school and then your favorite new school.
Okay, so favorite old school is definitely going to be Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors. I know that's horrible to not pick an original.
No, yeah, I'm agreeing with you. I think three and four to me is the best of the franchise.
Oh, absolutely. And Patricia Arquette in 3 God, could she have been any hotter? She was so hot in that.
They wanted her in 4, from what I understand. I think she wanted a little bit more money, and they were wanting to throw.
And then, yeah, there was never a main character reused in a single movie besides Heather.
Well, Alice.
Well, they used a different actor. That's what I meant.
No, it was the same one. Well, yeah, it was the same one. She was the same one in 4 and 5. 4 was Dream Master. Yep, 4 was Dream Master. 5 was Dream Child.
Yes, you are completely right.
Yep, and that was Lisa Wilcox. I only know that because we had her on the show, so I think we talked about that off air. But yeah, she was there, and then Heather Langenkamp was in 1, and then come back in 3. Lawrence Fishburne was actually in 3. He was an orderly in the hospital.
Yeah, he was still going by Larry Fishburne at the time.
Yeah.
If you look at the credits.
Yeah. But no, I'm 100% on board with you, man. 3 was great. I mean, the kills in 3, that was when Freddy started to get a little swagger about him. You know, welcome to prime time, bitch, through the TV and, you know, all that. Yep, Zsa Zsa Gabor in there. 4 was when he really turned it on. I think they classified that as like the MTV Freddy. He went Hollywood or whatever. You know, he turned it up a notch in 4. But no, I'm agreeing, man. 3 was great. 3 and 4 can alternate whichever one I like best from time to time, but definitely 3 and 4 are my favorites.
I flipped between 3 and New Nightmare because I absolutely loved New Nightmare. I really liked that they went with this whole new concept with it, and that we got Heather Langenkamp back, and that she was actually Heather Langenkamp in it. But for my favorite new movie that's come out, I'm gonna go with Talk to Me.
Yes, I seen that was with the hand, right?
Yeah, that was the one with the hand. I actually thought that was really well done.
I wasn't a huge, I mean, I watched it. It was okay. I'm really a hard critic when it comes to horror movies, just because I've been a fan of them for so long, and I compare a lot of stuff to, you know, the older stuff. I'll say this on camera again. I think we talked about it off air. One of my personal favorites is Night of the Demons. I recommend anybody to go watch that. The first one from, I think it's the late 80s. I mean, typical group of kids get together to party in a haunted house. Shit goes haywire and demons start taking over everybody. You know who Leanna Quigley is?
Yeah.
She's in Night of the Demons.
Oh, okay.
Yes, she plays in Night of the Demons.
Another reason to watch it.
Yes.
Did you ever see The Gate?
Yes, I did see The Gate.
That's another one. If I had to pull, and I wasn't pulling from Nightmare on Elm Street, I would say The Gate was probably one of my favorites as well.
The Gate was good. The Witchboard was good. I like the movie Witchboard. That had Tony Katan in it. I think that was her name. The redhead. She just died not too long ago, but she was really hot. She was in their movie. She got possessed by the Witchboard.
Wishmaster is a really good one. Oh, Phantasm.
Yes.
I love Phantasm because what other movie, like a writer walked into the writing room and said, you know what? Let's make one of the heroes an ice cream man. Let's go. Let's do this. And the rest of the writers said, fuck it. Let's go. It's an ice cream man. He's saving the day.
And that guy, Angus Grimm, if you ever heard him talk like out of character, he's like the sweetest fucking dude you'd ever want to meet. Like, he just seems like he wouldn't hurt a fly, but in that movie, he's scary as shit.
Oh my God, yeah.
I'll tell you a good one I just watched. I think it's either Abby or Abigail.
Abigail. I watched Abigail the other day.
Did you? I loved it. What did you think about it?
I thought it was really good. It surprised me in a few ways that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't super scared at all in it.
No, I wouldn't say scared, but it was. I found it very entertaining.
Yes, I watched that, and then I watched that new Sydney Sweeney movie.
Which one was that?
Immaculate.
Okay, I haven't seen that one yet. I thought the Abigail was good. the part when they're like they're like, okay, she's a vampire. What can we use? And the guy's like, or the girl's like, daylight. We can use daylight. And he's like, all right, that's good. Except it's 3:30 in the morning. So
yeah, when she shows up with the fucking onions instead of garlic.
Yeah,
that actress was actually in a movie I watched recently called Lisa Frankenstein. That was like a horror comedy.
Okay.
And I actually really like that actress. I think she's going to be doing like a lot of really good, like.
The other one was, she was in the last 2 Scream movies, but I think there was some falling out with that, something about Hamas or something like that. And she's not going to be in it, at least from what I heard. You know, I'm talking about the dark-headed girl, main character.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she was in the last 2 Scream movies, but I don't think she's supposed to be returning.
I didn't realize she was in the last 2. It's funny because sometimes you see people and you're like, I know you were in something, and you can't.
She was the older sister of the younger girl that's kind of blew up that had the dark hair. I think she played Wednesday Addams.
Yeah, Wednesday Addams.
Yeah, and she's been in a few other ones. The last one they shot in New York, which I thought was very cool. But they are going to do another one. I'm assuming at this point they're probably going to have to open up the checkbook and get Nev back on board if the other 2 main characters are out.
I think if you go on IMDb, they list Matthew Lillard on
that
the
would
movie.
Be fucking awesome. He's been rumored to be coming back in the last 2.
Yeah.
They were going to say that he didn't get killed from the first movie, that he just got fucked up really bad and he had been living in an insane asylum or in jail or something. He's supposed to come back with his face all screwed up and all this, that, and the other. He was rumored to come back in like a few of them. But obviously, like you said, if you see that on a poster or in a credit or something like, you would almost have to hide the fact that he was in it until it come out on DVD or something. Because if you list that and he's not in the movie, then obviously you're going to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Or at least I would anyway. I mean, I would pick up on that because
I know you can change your IMDb page, so there's a chance that he's just fucking with people left and right.
Yeah. Well, I know he signed on to do another Scooby-Doo movie, so I mean, you know, who knows? But I'd love to see him back playing Stu Macher, I think was his name in that series. And that was another good one, man. Scream just kind of came along at the right time. The horror genre needed like a shot in the arm, because it was kind of losing its steam with the Jasons and the Freddys and the Michael Myers were kind of on a downward turn. And I mean, Scream was just what it needed to give it a shot in the arm and bring it right back to life. And it was,
that soundtrack, the soundtrack to Scream is fucking phenomenal.
There's a lot of people don't even mention that, but I mean, that Don't Fear the Reaper that was in there. They had another one. It wasn't Scream, but it was I Know What You Did Last Summer soundtrack. That song Hush. That was on.
Yes.
I love that one too. They pumped out some good horror movies, and they knew how to put the right songs with the movies back in those days. That's like something that I think at this day and time you don't see as much.
You don't see as many people with soundtracks like walking around being like, I just want the soundtrack to this movie.
Yeah.
I Know What You Did Last Time with The Faculty was a great soundtrack.
Yep. Faculty was a fucking good one. That remake of what was the song?
Another
Brick in the Wall. Another Brick in the Wall.
Oh, Another Brick in the Wall. I was thinking the Alice Cooper song.
Well, that too. But they had the Another Brick in the Wall. They redone it. It wasn't Pink Floyd. Somebody redid it for that one. But I mean, yeah, that was a great soundtrack. Man, you're making me scroll down memory lane in the 80s or the kind of the late 90s, 2000s horror movies. That was some good shit, man.
Really and they had Brandy in the second one.
Yep.
But I love that Sarah Michelle Gellar is still married to Freddie Prinze Jr.
That's crazy. They are still married. I didn't think about that. And they were in I Know What You Did Last Summer. I did kind of trail off. I want to say they did like 3 or 4 sequels.
There was at least 3 of them.
I know I watched the first 2. I maybe watched the third one, but at that point it was getting a little too far out in left field for me.
They made a show. They actually made a show on Amazon Prime. It was a shit show.
Oh, really?
It didn't, a lot of it didn't make sense. And you could tell that they were doing it like episode by episode.
Probably didn't know when they were going to be canceled. What about this? Didn't Scream do a series also?
Yeah, but I actually really enjoyed the Scream series.
Okay, I don't think I ever watched it.
They have two separate ones. There's like a 2 seasons that belong to one, and then they redid it and they did like 1 season in the other one.
Really?
Yeah. So, but it's actually pretty good. I really enjoy with shows though. There's this one show called Slasher.
I did see that. Yeah. Yeah. With I remember there was the part where he put the dude in like this fucking pit with some of the like typhon. I forgot the name of these snakes, but they're like super poisonous snakes. And he put the snakes in the bottom of the pit with the dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoy Slasher.
That was a Netflix special, right? Or exclusive, Netflix exclusive?
I'm not sure if it's Netflix exclusive or not, but yeah, it could be because I've only ever seen it on Netflix.
Yeah, I think it wasn't exclusive, but it was good. I enjoyed that. I'm a real big fan of like the Who's the Killer type movies. I enjoyed the one that come out last year. Was Thanksgiving Day. Did you see that?
Oh, I just bought that on my Amazon account like 3 weeks ago.
I liked it. That was Patrick Dempsey coming back in there, so he's kind of making the resurgence. He was in Scream 3, I think it was. Patrick Dempsey.
Which character was he?
He was a cop. He was
he was the cop.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a cop in that too. He was a cop in Thanksgiving Day. He was a cop in that. He played that role where I'm thinking maybe that's why he was. I don't want to give too much away. Most people should have seen it by now if you hadn't in tough shit. But he turned out to be the killer. Have you seen it? Have you seen Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. I'm about to say I don't want to ruin it for you, but I mean, he turned. I think a lot of people were counting on it not to be him, just because he's always played kind of the good guy role, and he wasn't the killer in Scream, but it kind of threw you for a curve that he was the killer in this one. But the girl that he had the crush on, what's her name? Gershon? Is it Gianna Gershon? She was in Showgirls. You ever see Showgirls?
Yeah, I've seen Showgirls.
Gina Gershon, that's her name. Gina Gershon. She is really pretty. She's like, it's like she's looked the same for the last 40 years. She hasn't aged.
Yeah, she's aged very, very well.
Yeah, she was in Showgirls. She was in Face Off. She's been in a bunch of stuff, but she looked really good in that movie. And that was kind of the ploy that, they were supposed to be getting together or whatever. And when she got killed in the shopping raid, and that kind of what sent him to his thing. But Eli Roth, I thought done good on that. He's kind of doing his thing in the horror. I mean, he started off really hot with all the Hostels and everything. He, took a little break there for a little while, but I thought Thanksgiving Day was real well. I'm hoping he does something else to follow it up.
Well, so no one kills middle-class white people like Eli Roth. Like, exactly. Eli Roth is like, I got some rich white people. Let's go. Let's kill them. But he actually did this movie called like A Clock in the Walls with like Jack Black, like The Clock in the Walls or something. And it's like a kid's movie, but he like, it's like the only movie he did that is like this children's movie. And he like also featured himself in it.
Really? I got to check that out. I don't know if I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, it was Jack Black. And yeah, it's like The Clock in the Walls or the walls with the clocks, something along those lines.
Well, I'd say I'm gonna make a short out of that right now. Nobody kills middle class white people like Eli Roth.
Nope.
That's funny. No, he's good, man. Those Hostels were good. Like, and they had the one kind of knockoff from that Touristas or whatever it was. He did
that Green Inferno movie.
Green Inferno. There was another one that he had his hands in, I think. I know he was in Inglourious Basterds as just an actor. I don't think he really had much to do.
He financed Clown.
Clown was a good one. I enjoyed that one.
Oh my God. When the clown shoots himself in the head and it comes out rainbow colored, all of his brains.
What about, are you a Terrifier fan?
I haven't seen it yet.
None of them?
None of them. I know I'm really weird.
Like, I mean, it's like when I watched the first, my son actually told me to watch the first one. And because I had seen the clown cover or whatever, you've seen it on Netflix back in the day or whatever it was on. And I was watching just a part of it, and the clown was chasing the girls. And like I said, I'm really hard to impress when it comes to horror movies. And so the guy's making all these faces, and then he gets this girl and hangs her upside down and basically takes a saw and just splits her in half. He saws her literally in half. And I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. I'll sit down and finish watching it. And then 2 come out. We went to the theaters to see 2. I think my son was like 14 at the time. I had some people looking at me a little funny when we walked in there to that theater. But I mean, it's, you know what you're going in there for. Like if you go in there thinking you're going in there for anything other than a gore fest, splatter fest,
Yeah.
really rough horror movie, like you got another thing coming. And I actually did. It's the first movie I think I've ever been in where I did see some people get up and walk out. And I don't know if I've ever seen that before in anything. Some people.
I saw somebody do that when I saw Hereditary. Right after the girl's head got cut off.
It was a similar scene in there where the guy really done some damage, and then somebody walked in, and he's sitting there basically playing with, you know, the body of work that he did on the girl there, and it was like a older lady and a husband, and they just got up and was like shaking their heads and left. And I was just like, I don't know if I've ever seen that before. They just got up and walked out.
Like, what did they think this movie was going to be about?
I'm thinking that possibly they just didn't know, older couple on a date or something like that, and they just see the poster outside and they think, oh, okay, a scary movie. We'll go and have a little scary movie date night. They obviously did not know the origins of what, I forgot what that damn clown is. I forgot his name. But they obviously didn't know what this was about or what they were going into, because I think everybody in there but them did. But I was just so impressed. I'm like, I've always heard, you know, you see it on there. People couldn't make it through the movie, and people left, and people were screaming and throwing up in the theaters, and you know, I'd never seen none of that. But then I finally seen people stand up and walk out, and I'm like, damn, it took me this long. I'm, you know, almost 40 years old till I finally seen somebody get up and leave the theater.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what happened with Hereditary when I was watching it. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Bye. Like, you don't want to know the rest?
And there's some rough shit. If you get on there and start looking at like really rough horror movies, like you got I Spit on Your Grave.
Oh my God, that makes me sick. That one makes me sick.
The original ones, and they redid them. And those were, I mean, those were a little bit more modernized and updated, but they were still rough. What was it? Human Centipede was a rough one. Caribbean Film was a rough one. I follow this girl on Instagram. If I remembered it, I would shout her out. But she'll do like these little shorts or whatever. She'll say like the most disturbing films you can find on Tubi or Netflix or whatever. And a lot of them I've seen, but every now and again she'll throw one out there that I haven't seen. And I mean, it's just some weird shit out there that people make. I mean, like I think to myself, like, somebody financed this shit. She's got money to burn. But I mean,
how did you pitch this?
Yeah, like how do you say, okay, I want to take a movie where you sew one guy's mouth to another guy's ass, and we have all these people in this room, and a group.
That director has come forward and actually said that he was having a conversation with people about what should be the punishment for pedophilia, and that was his answer. And
I'm okay with that. He
took that as a movie and made it into a movie.
Now, I'm a little bit okay with that, though. I don't have an issue with that at all.
No, I completely agree.
Well, Dahlia, I appreciate you coming on the show. I've had a blast talking about horror movies. Tell everybody before we get out of here where they can go to find you, follow you, get your content, subscribe to all your stuff. Tell them where they can go to check you out.
So if you're going on Twitter, I'm DahliaIsDopey. If you're on Instagram, I'm DahliaIsDope. But if you're looking for anything else, it'd be under DahliaIsDopey. So you can just kind of Google. I'm on ManyVids. I'm on My Free Cams. I'm on Instagram, like I said. I'm on Twitter.
They can probably find those links. I'm assuming you have a link to your Instagram where they can click and kind of follow you. Yeah. Because I can't put direct links for those types of things. We get a little slap on the wrist from YouTube. But I can put Instagram handles, and then they can kind of take it from there.
Perfect. They can find you.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. I've had a blast. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and we'll definitely have you back later on.
No, thank you so much. I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Hollywood Wade. That was DahliaIsDopey. And unfortunately, we are out of time. Tune in next week for an all new episode of Crime and Entertainment. Dahlia, we appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you.